CBS Sports HQ presented by Geico. Happy Tuesday to you. It is a very important Tuesday for all of us. Yes. 100 days until week 1 of the college football season.
Oh, yes.
Mark that down so we get to get all mad at each other all over again. I mean, we've been friends all summer, but bring it on because Florida State's going down. I don't know what's going to happen there. Iowa, just forget about that. The Sooners will win everything.
Is that when you get to shave the beard, Danny?
Yeah,
I don't know. This thing is growing out of control. I'm not happy about it. The bet was I will never shave again, but I did not say anything about waxing, so I'm considering it.
Waxing your beard off?
If you have to do what you have to do.
Oh my God.
It's like 40-year-old virgin when he waxes.
Yes,
That's going to be on video.
Oh, yes. I don't know, but I'm willing to try it at this point.
Danny.
Don't do it?
do that.
We'll see.
Danny Kanell is with us. We'll have Chip Patterson join us in just a little bit, who is apparently to blame for Danny having to grow that beard. 100 days away from week 1. That's 100 days till week 1 kicks off on a Thursday. And Coach Prime going to be involved in one of those games on Thursday. And one of the more interesting games of week 1. Let's get some, look, spreads. Ooh. Colorado, an 8.5-point favorite against North Dakota State. Now, North Dakota State had that 6-game winning streak against FBS teams snapped a couple of years ago against Arizona in a really tight game, but also some magnificent games, including USC, LSU, Georgia, and 2-touchdown favorite against Clemson, Texas A&M, hosting Notre Dame, and, geez, Florida State only a 4.5-point favorite against BC to start things off. All right. Let's get Chip Patterson in here. We are going to talk about several of those games that we just showed you. Chip, hello. Your beard, look, Chip embraces the gray.
Yeah, he's had it forever.
You're kind of trying to push the gray away,
well,
right?
Technically, it's blonde underneath.
Blonde.
It's not gray. There have already been
totally
some,
matches like
there
the
have
blonde
already
on
been
the top
some
of your head.
shades of Just for Men. So it's just about finding the right tone, what we're looking for.
Look, I'm going to tell you on air, it looks awesome. It looks really good.
I do think it looks good.
Thank you. More distinguished.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Colorado and North Dakota State. Danny, this is not the North Dakota State that we're used to seeing. They haven't won a title in a couple of years. That win streak is no more. But I think the more questions are about this Colorado team.
Yes, I mean, every game feels like a must-win game for the Colorado Buffaloes if they want to get to bowl eligibility, which I do think is a reasonable goal. I don't know what Coach Prime is saying now, if they're going to win the Big 12, but this is an opportunity for them to start off on the right foot again, just like they did last year. And so I would expect them to do that. It's also a chance to kick off a Heisman campaign like he did last year against TCU at halftime. Remember, he said Shedeur and Travis Hunter both should be up for the Heisman, but it is an opportunity for them to get the ball rolling in the right direction. After the turmoil we've seen, not only on the roster with the amount of turnover they've had, which has been well documented, but also in the coaching staff. Both coordinators replaced, so there's a lot of change in this very chaotic environment in Boulder, but there still is the star power of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. So this feels like a must-win. When you can't look at a lot of games and just say, yep, that's an automatic W, this one better be for Dion and company.
Probably the best game of the week. And Chip, we're going to give this to you. You have Georgia and Clemson going up against one another in Atlanta here. Georgia's looking to make a statement right off the bat. Clemson still has yet to really kind of get back to that national championship level. How big is this game for both of these teams?
I think this is really big for Carson Beck, the Georgia quarterback. You know, we have anointed him as the QB1 in this class, and he's going to be going up against a Clemson defense that, make no doubt about it, is the strength of the team. You got a defensive line. It's got Peter Woods, TJ Parker, really high-profile guys, Barrett Carter giving you some experience at the second level. And so as Georgia is breaking in some new skill position pieces, they've got to turn over some NFL draft exits on the offensive line. Carson Beck now gets his first chance to really make a statement, because we showed the spread at the beginning of that segment. I mean, that is a 13.5-point spread in a game that you would think, given both of these programs having won 2 national championships in the last decade, that seems wild. But I think it speaks to the fact that not much is expected of Clemson's offense against Georgia's defense. That's why when I'm thinking about the big implications, the big takeaways, it really is focused on Carson Beck, because Georgia plays a really tough schedule. Clemson's defense is going to be one of the best defenses that Carson Beck plays all year. So if he's able to light up that Clemson defense, it sets the stage for a lot of hype in the early part of the season.
Georgia did not make the college football playoff last year, but bringing that momentum, as we see here on the bottom of the screen, from that 60-point win against Florida State. Speaking of, Danny.
Oh, I know he did.
Danny, a part of several great rivalries in the state of Florida when you were a player at Florida State. FSU not involved in this matchup, but it is the first time in 5 years we get Miami and Florida. This one's in Gainesville.
Well, it's refreshing to see these two programs finally step up to the table and actually play each other, because Florida State always plays both of them because that's what Florida State does. But this matchup has so much at stake for both of these programs. Let's start with Florida, because Billy Napier comes in clearly on the hot seat. We discussed this on our Cover 3 pod the other day. There's not a coach with a higher expectation, and the win total's 5.5 against this gauntlet of a schedule, maybe the toughest schedule we've seen in the history of college football. And now you've got an opportunity at home against an in-state rival to really kick things off on the right foot. But it's not going to be easy, because the Miami Hurricanes have massive expectations of their own, where Mario Cristobal is still searching for that season that really puts him firmly as the beloved son come home that actually got return on their investment. And they've gone out and spent. They went out and got Cam Ward, the best quarterback on the open market. They got Damian Martinez from Oregon State, the incredible running back. Their expectations are off the chart as well. Both of these programs desperately need to start off on the right foot. The atmosphere at the Swamp is going to be absolutely insane. I think this might be one of the more entertaining games of the first weekend.
Week one, sometimes we get like 2 or 3 good games. This week one, it just has so many storylines written into it. Chip, the next one we're going to talk about here, Notre Dame going up against Texas A&M in College Station. But here's the weird thing about this game. We get Duke ties on both sides, because you have Duke's former head coach, now the head coach at Texas A&M, and Duke's former quarterback, Riley Leonard, now with Notre Dame, Chip.
Yeah, and Mike Elko, in general, just does such a good job of preparing his defenses to go out and cause problems, cause confusion. I hate to think about the advantage that Texas A&M has, as Mike Elko is intimately familiar with the strengths and weaknesses of Riley Leonard. But to me, the Notre Dame side of this is huge, because this is one of the 2 toughest games, maybe Florida State being the other one, on Notre Dame's schedule, a schedule that I think sets up well for Marcus Freeman to have double-digit wins and make the college football playoff. So, what a resounding statement that would be if Riley Leonard is able to lead this Notre Dame crew to a win on the road. Texas A&M, I probably think, is going to be where I might go. A lot of time to change my mind, but Notre Dame's fascinating to me, because I think we're sleeping on this team. They've got NFL players on the defensive line, in the secondary, at tight ends, and maybe they're at quarterback with Riley Leonard as well. So if the Fighting Irish can navigate this tricky spot, then all of a sudden we're going to be looking at Notre Dame in a brand new light. We don't know where to rank Notre Dame, but I think they're closer to 5 than 25 as we sit here going into the season.
Danny has a bold prediction about Texas A&M coming up a little bit later. By the way, they don't have to play Alabama this season, Texas A&M. No more divisions in the SEC. Let's go to the SEC and Alabama. Look, they do have a tough non-conference game at Camp Randall and Wisconsin, but that's not for a little bit later in the month of September. They begin the Kalen DeBoer era, Chip, with Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I think this is going to be exactly what the doctor ordered. We're not asking you to go to a neutral site and play against another team that might have comparable talent. We're allowing you to have a celebration to usher in the Kalen DeBoer era. And Western Kentucky, they can be frisky from time to time, but I think this is a spot where Jalen Milroe is able to settle in. Maybe a rocky start, but that Kalen DeBoer is going to dial up some deep shots for him. And that they're just going to allow everyone to just breathe that sigh of relief of just sort of getting that win in the post-Saban era, because Kalen DeBoer's doing things really differently than what Nick Saban did right now. We've got a cool, laid-back, playing music at practice vibe. We got we're no longer on the one voice program. Our coaches can talk to the media vibe. But that schedule's got some potential losses on it, and that's when things are going to get a little bit hairy for Kalen DeBoer in terms of trying to escape that Nick Saban shadow. But nothing better for KDB than to be able to get that first game, an advantageous opponent. You get the win, you dial up a few highlights, and everybody leaves Bryant-Denny feeling good about themselves, saying roll tide. So I like the spot for Kalen DeBoer, a coach who I am buying stock in the long term.
Buying stock in Kalen DeBoer. We'll see about these next 2 coaches. And here's the thing, Chip, you're really nice. You can be a little petty. I can be a little petty. You're not like, I mean it not in a bad way.
Okay.
Like sometimes do you ever watch a game and you're like, you know what? I don't really care what happens here. If both teams lose, that would be fine.
Yes.
USC going up against LSU. I'm a very petty person. So no longer Heisman winning quarterbacks for both of these teams. We got to see what these coaches can bring to the table now.
Yes, we do. And they both, it's interesting because they both have quarterbacks coming back. They know who they have. I think Garrett Nussmeier at LSU with Brian Kelly is the quarterback that they feel really good about. He really shined in the spring game. All the conversation coming out of LSU's coaching staff is how much confidence they have replacing Jaden Daniels. But can he elevate them to a place where they want to go? And why Brian Kelly, to your point, Amanda, came to LSU. He came to LSU because he wanted to win a national championship, and he has not been able to do that yet. Granted, it's only been a couple years, but the expectation is, all right, we need to get there. And then you've got Lincoln Riley. This was the one that gets really interesting because Miller Moss had an unbelievable bowl game. 6 touchdown passes, which really almost took them out of the market in the transfer portal for some of the top tier talent. Will Howard comes to mind, who ended up at Ohio State because it kind of scared everybody off. They did get Jaden Maeva, in the portal as well, who might actually push Miller Moss. But to me, for both of these programs, it's not so much about the offenses because you kind of have to trust whoever's playing there. It's about the defense because LSU, new defensive coordinator. USC, new defensive coordinator. We looked at the total this one the other day. Yeah. It's 66.5. I think this one could be an absolute track meet in Las Vegas in the indoor atmosphere there. That should be a fast track. I think it's going to be a fun game. But I think clearly Lincoln Riley has a little bit more pressure on him than Brian Kelly does at this point.
Like I can't cheer for USC clearly.
Right.
It feels bad cheering for LSU.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It is time to get more with Geico. Bold prediction time. Chip's prediction is a little bit, I think, more bold than Danny's.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to let you go first so that yours looks okay before Chip burns things down.
He paid attention to directions better. I was, it's only May. I saved the really bold stuff for August.
100 days until week 1 kicks off.
But it's not till week 0. So that's when it really starts off, when Florida State plays Georgia Tech, just so you know. So my bold prediction is Texas A&M, who we talked about. I think they win that game against Notre Dame. And I think they go to the college football playoff in Mike Elko's first year on the job. I think he maximizes Connor Wegman, who's really been all about potential so far for the Aggies. But bringing in Colin Klein, I thought, was one of the better offensive coordinator hires that I think really is going to work wonders for Connor Wegman. Mike Elko, we know what he does on the defensive side of the ball. And even though they lost some of those pieces in the transfer portal, Walter Nolan comes to mind, Evan Stewart, there's still pretty good talent there that Jimbo Fisher left behind. I think they need structure, and I think they need a fresh voice, and they already have the atmosphere. The schedule sets up very nice, where I think 10-2 is probably the likely scenario for this Texas A&M Aggie Fighting Aggie squad. I think they make the playoffs in the first year of Mike Elko's tenure.
This might be one of my boldest takes, so I'm going to repeat it for 3 months. I'm just going to dig my heels in on this one because the Liberty Flames are going to be the first Cinderella of the 12-team college football playoff era. Here's the way I see it. I think Liberty's going to be able to claim that spot as the 5th highest ranked conference champion. I think they're going to bulldoze their way through Conference USA. And then when they get there, who is Liberty going to be playing? Because as I look at the format with the 4 conference champions getting the top 4 seeds, the chances are the team that Liberty will be playing is a team that has lost in either the SEC or Big Ten championship game. So you've lost a heartbreaker to another heavyweight, and now you've got to get up and you've got to go against Jamie Chadwell, who's had 2 weeks to put together a game plan with Caden Salter running the show for that offense. I think that this is going to be where we embrace the 12-team playoff. It's with a first-round upset, and I think Liberty has the coach, the quarterback, and the team to be able to go get it done.
That's a bold prediction.
Yeah, but
Chip
I like
Patterson.
it.
I do like it.
Danny's.
They lost by 40 to Oregon.
In the bowl.
In the bowl game.
But this will be a shorter window to prepare, so that SEC or Big Ten, whoever's coming off that loss, could be banged up, could be a little bit more hurting. I think it's a stretch. I would love it. I think it'd be great for college football because you know how many times people cry about the expansion of the playoff? We're just going to see blowouts in round one. I hope we get it. I think it'd be awesome.
It would be good for college football.
Yeah.
Danny Kanell, Chip Patterson here. Chip, Cover 3 podcast. You guys have got a lot going on. One of the latest episodes there. Look, they do mailbags, so if you guys want to ask your questions, make sure to send those in to those guys. They'll answer them on air. Also, some of the coaches not necessarily on the hot seat, but who has the most to prove this upcoming season?